guys, this is Rikk and you are watching The Pumpkin Patch. So today on The Pumpkin Patch, I am going to be doing another review video. I apologize to the band for it taking forever. Unfortunately, I have been very busy the last couple weeks trying to catch up after the Riders tour ended and just, playing catch up since basically. So today's album is Devil in the Belfry's self-titled EP. As an overview, it is a 4-song EP. The band is from New Jersey, consisting of Jeff Grun on guitar and vocals, Brendan Taylor on bass and vocals, and Sean Henry on drums. They all partake in the gang vocal piece of the recording as well. Like I said, they are from Jersey. You guys may remember that in 2017 they released an album called Wandering Alone, and it had a huge amount of buzz in the horror punk scene. I don't think I could go online without hearing about it from someone on any of the Facebook groups or on Instagram. So with that being said, this EP does not disappoint. It continues to go in the same direction that their first album goes, where it takes, in my opinion, like something very reminiscent of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like skate punk soundtrack style stuff, like something that could just straight up be off the video game, like early 2000s alternative punk. Or in the first album I was connecting it to like Lost Prophets a little bit, and it still has that vibe a little, but it's grown since then. It's become its own thing, I think. It starts off real AFI-esque with some really cool riffage, straight into like more of the skate punk sounding stuff you expect from them. Jeff on the vocals for the first songs, providing like a mid-range, like almost gothier, vibe to it. There is some chants in the pre-chorus and a woe-laden chorus. Sometimes if you've seen my videos, I talk a lot about woes and things like that as far as horror punk goes. And what I think is cool is how different certain bands can do it and make it sound fresh still. As for Devil in the Belfry, what's cool is that they have it layered behind the vocals, so it's not like it's not Jeff doing the woes. It would be like the band behind him doing the woes. And it doesn't matter one way or the other to me usually, but it does, set a different dynamic doing it differently like that. So it's really cool to notice. That's what I've noticed particularly on this EP. After the chorus, it kind of goes a little bit slower and builds back up into the second verse, goes back into another chorus, and it has like a reprieve of the intro, like AFI-esque solo-y thing, goes into a full solo part, into the final chorus, and the final chorus has like a different dynamic shift because it has like a portion on the drums that switches to kind of ride on the crash, which always adds a little bit of a dynamic shift. I think he may also he might change up on what he's actually playing, so it's a little slower and a little more cut back, but that adds for this cool dynamic shift. On the second track first track was called Drawing Flies, by the way. Second track is called Ghost Town. It sort of immediately explodes. It goes into like this faster punk banger. There's an interest, like the verse is really interesting because the music itself kind of hangs back for a sec, and it's just like the snare and the vocals, and this is Jeff on vocals again. It's a little bit more aggressive than the first song, because the way it's yelled. There dynamic portions where the guitar comes back in, and then there's it goes into like a woe bridge section. Throughout the entire thing, there's little portions that have like hey, 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 which is really cool. Like I said, this whole song has like the very early 2000s alternative hard rock vibe to it. Um, this sort of repeats, and then there's like an instrumental bridge, which is pretty badass as well. That brings me to the next track, Moonlight Man. This one starts out with a little bit more of an atmospheric intro into a build up, and it goes back into a fast deep beat section with some dynamic hits on the drums with the guitar and the bass following. This one actually has Brendan on vocals, the bass player, and his vocal style is very reminiscent of the Rosedales, which is really cool. Has that really melodic as fuck piece to it. So the chorus is very melodic and it has woes and chants, so my head explodes. Those are two of my favorite pieces of horror punk songs, especially the way they have the chant set up is very reminiscent of like Blitz Kid stuff, like later Blitz Kid stuff, which is awesome because I really like the style that sets forth, I guess, a precedent that sets forth. It's very like layered, clearly like hardcore punk influenced. I don't know. For me, what's not to love about some badass chants, right? There's a slightly longer pre-chorus on the second round. The vocals go from Just Like the Moon to Just Like the Moon, I'll Follow You, which is pretty cool. Then there's another chorus, and then there's another solo section with a. It goes with the guitar comes in as a solo first, but if you listen to it, like actually listen to it, you have some build up drum parts that are going on. It's a little bit more metal influence as far as what's going on in the instrumental, I think. And then the outro is just another reprieve of the intro, ending very atmospherically with some vocals at the end, which is really nice. Son of the Moon is, from what I assume, based on the names, an extension of the song, Moonlight Man, and it also has Brendan on vocals. It's a little bit more aggressive in the riffage compared to the song beforehand. This one I noticed, I don't know if I only noticed it on here or if it's throughout the whole album and I just didn't notice it. But this one seems to have some like background layered vocals underneath Brendan's vocals. So it's like I assume it's Brendan's vocals on this one and then Jeff's layered behind him, which is really cool on certain parts. It like bounces back and forth where it's just Brendan and then the layered vocals. There's a line where he says wild and free, and the way he says free is really kind of gritty, which is really cool. There's like a portion, like a bridge portion that the bass and drums go on, and then it kind of builds with more guitar stuff, which is cool. And the final chorus ends with like a really aggressive pounding dot 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 like outro piece, and then it kind of dies down very similarly to AFI's cover of Halloween. Just kind of gets all spooky at the end with just noise type stuff, which is cool. So that was all the tracks, and my highlight of the album is definitely Moonlight Man. The low light isn't even that the track is bad or anything, but they're all so good that it was really hard to figure out which one. But I think Ghost Town is kind of the weakest one. There wasn't as much that was really catching for me. There's a lot, but comparatively speaking, I think that my biggest complaint about this is pretty obvious. It is 4 songs, and I would love to hear the stuff that the band is doing in this capacity as like a 30-minute release, 45-minute release. But hopefully that'll happen soon, maybe next year. I do really appreciate the band letting me review it, and I hope they understand, which I'm sure they will, that I wasn't trying to put it off on purpose. It just kind of happened. With that being said, I'm really glad that I got the chance to listen to it, and hope that everyone else does too. I will leave a link to the album down below. It is actually out today. It's going to be on Spotify, on all streaming services, as well as on their page, I assume. Like I said, I will leave a link below, and I expect all of you guys to check it out because it is fucking rad. With that being said, I'm going to sign off. This is just a short one. I am going to also be working on another review, which will hopefully come out within the next week or so, for our friends in Cut Up Naked Teenagers. I suppose it's time to bid you adieu. I have been Rick or Treat, and you've been watching The Pumpkin Patch.